So on page 158, you write about desperation. And this stuck out when I first read the book. This is the part that I remembered because it really spoke to me. Your point is that the revolution always justifies its terrorism as either necessary for mobilizing the oppressed, or they say it's born of desperation. We have no choice. People are going to do these things because they have to, because they're so desperate that this is all they've got. But you in this paragraph say you don't think that that's true. And you write, if it were desperation, it would have the energy of an emotion that makes imperative the conception of innovative tactics, rather one that settles for going around the wheel again. And then you quote Camus, and he said, resentment is an auto-intoxication, the evil secretion in a sealed vessel of prolonged impotence. Now, I completely agree that resentment is addicting and it's not sustainable, and that much of what people do in the name of the revolution or radical feminism is just an excuse for that endorphin rush of rage. I have absolutely been there, so I completely agree. But I think that the desperation is quite real, and I'm not sure that the dividing line is these innovative tactics, because what if there aren't any new tactics? Like, why is the new tactics the differential diagnosis for what's legitimate desperation? Because we haven't really come up with anything new, but I also know our desperation is quite real. Right. So this was like, I just didn't know what to do with this, and I'm wondering what you think about it now.
I'm not sure, Lierre. I think what I meant was that, first of all, if you discount women, you're crazy, because women are more desperate than anybody else, and yet we have not gone as a group toward this politics. I mean, these tactics, basically, as a group. Now we're beginning to get science that tells us why, but it's self-defined. It's not other defined. But I think, how shall I say this? I think that the tendency toward violence abstractifies itself, if that makes any sense at all. It doesn't really. What I mean by that is that it exists almost independent of the cause. So if the cause is desperation, I don't know that desperation necessarily invents new tactics, but I think that it can. And I think that to settle for anything less than pushing it to the nth degree to try and make it yield new tactics is a failure of the imagination, maybe. Again, I leave self-defense out of it. I think if a man, comes onto a woman physically in a certain, she has every right to kick him in the balls and take him apart. I think if he comes on more violent, she has every right to do whatever she needs to do to save it. There's no question about that. And her kids, if she's a mother. The interesting thing is we've not been afraid to show this tigress in defending our children, only in defending ourselves. That's where we draw the line. So we've got to extend that line to include ourselves. That's the irony. But I think that the weight of the patriarchy comes down on us so hard and so continually. It's not even a crushing weight; it's a wearing away weight that we've got to just push at to breathe. Even I think it's so big that it tends to make it easier for us to go in that direction, and instead of somehow just barreling down. And I mean, I know that I worked so hard on those chapters to try and find that tightrope between what you're talking about, the very tension that you're speaking about. I think women have a right to defend themselves. I think women have a right, if necessary, to be violent in defending themselves. But I don't want to see us ever experience the thing that you have experienced and I've experienced, which is that endorphin, adrenaline, revolutionary high in doing it, because that is something that men experience and they have become addicted to. And I want us to grieve while we do it, if we do it. That's a difference I still cling to, perhaps naively, but I still cling to.